Why an area in the Caribbean has my attention. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo on this Wednesday afternoon. I hope you're having a good one. I know that for 99% of you, it has been a hot, dry forecast lately, and coming up, we'll talk about how long that will persist, when I expect a pattern change, and why there is a portion of the Caribbean that has my interest as we move into late this week and early next week. As we get started on this video, thank you so much for liking it. If you've been looking for your forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, you found your home here at Meteo Mundo. Thank you so much for hitting the subscribe button. It has been a hot, dry forecast for a vast majority of our area on this Wednesday. I do want to start though with one area that is actually seeing some showers and storms, and that is going to be in the far northwest side of the Bahamas. You are looking at, of course, our enhanced satellite imagery and the live lightning data on this late Friday afternoon. Let me say this right now. This is an unbelievable storm that is moving between Walker's Key and Grand Bahama. I have the live lightning data at a threshold where it's only showing the moderate to high intensity lightning strikes. There is more lightning than what's even on this image, but in this view, in just the last 15 minutes, they've had over 700 lightning strikes. Look at all of the lightning over Walker's Key and then back to the northern side of Grand Bahama, right over the West End area. And then there's additional lightning that will continue to work its way through. So certainly here, and I'm going to bring this loop down to just the last hour so my friends in Grand Bahama and Walker's Key can get an idea of how this is marching through. Now look, the lightning part is bad because we've been so dry and there have been some wildfires on Grand Bahama. Saw some video from one yesterday, so that may not help, but hopefully enough rain to maybe quell some of those issues. It's always a give and a take when you're dry and you have this much lightning, but it is coming with some heavier storms. Let me show you that right now. I'm going to switch over to our radar product and get rid of the satellite data. So now you're seeing our live radar. What an intense storm. We had some severe weather in Florida today, and these are the storms that have rolled off of the East Coast, but this is a very impressive storm. Now, a lot of it is just north of Grand Bahama, almost between Grand Bahama and Walker's Key, but Walker's Key is getting hammered, and some of this will track over the island. Again, hopefully the lightning doesn't start any additional wildfires, and hopefully the rain will help to quell any of those issues. Now, for other areas, it's much more spotty. The northern side of Abaco could get some of this, and depending on how this traverses, Abaco could get hit fairly hard. We'll see how this plays out. Bimini, an isolated shower. Then you get as far south as Andros and New Providence and Eleuthera, and it's going to be really spotty in nature. There was actually a wildfire that shut down the Nassau airport for a time, I believe 2 days ago. So it's been very dry in the Bahamas, and there has been a wildfire threat for the last several days. But again, a massive storm there. I wanted to highlight that first as I came on here, just because, again, that's what's happening in the here and now. Let's get back over to the broad view again here, and then I'm going to put on our current temperatures, and we're going to talk about what has been an extremely hot and mainly dry day outside of those storms in the northwest Bahamas. Again, you're looking at your live radar, your live satellite data, the live lightning strike data as well. But as I zoom into the Caribbean, you notice that those lightning strikes basically fall away. It's been a pretty hot, dry forecast. I know so many of you are desperate for some rain, so we're going to talk much more about that. But in the short term, we continue to see conditions dry out for the Cayman Islands. We're right around 90 degrees. My friends in Jamaica, again, very limited shower chance here. We've had one or two little lightning strikes, but nothing really going here. So it's really more about the hot, dry weather for Montego Bay, up to 90. It's pretty hot for the northwest side of the island. Kingston right around 90 to 91. Portmore, Spanish Town, again, we'll talk about the rain chances coming up, but you haven't seen any lately. we are drying out in Hispaniola. And again, one area that actually could use a little bit of drier weather, where temperatures there are mainly in the upper 80s to the lower 90s here. And I do have that enhanced satellite imagery in, but again, there's been not a lot of cloud coverage here. We are trying to get, I guess if nothing else, an isolated shower or two to pop up over portions of Puerto Rico here. I can show you that. That's going to be the live radar here out of the southeast side of the island. And again, we've had a few pop-up showers on the western side of the island here. Nothing that's very prominent, nothing that's very heavy, but Yauco, on over towards Utialto. Inland locations, a spotty shower is possible. Mayaguez, Aguadilla could catch one of these little showers here. You can see over towards Coamo. Again, spotty rain. It's not going to be heavy, and actually the rain chance in Puerto Rico will continue to drop. But we haven't had a flood issue in this area over the last couple of days. That is good news. Again, I wish we could just take down the St. Thomas temperature site because it's not reporting correctly. It's been relatively dry through the eastern islands and portions of the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands as well. But I did want to show you that live radar because I did see that there was a few showers there. Elsewhere, putting the temperatures back on the map for you here, again, we've just continued to basically dry out. So now it's just going to get hotter and hotter and hotter across a lot of our areas here. Let's throw those temperatures back on, Rusty. There you go. So again, St. Kitts and Nevis, Anguilla, it's not horrible there. 84 is not a bad temperature here as we push into late May. Guadalupe did hit 94 today. Antigua coming in around 86. Down the road, Dominica, 91 on the south side of the island. Martinique around 90. There's a little storm there on the west side of Martinique. You can see that pop up right there, but look how quickly it dies back down. We're trying to maybe pop off maybe a little brief shower here in the northwest side of Barbados, but again, boy, they're so hit or miss. It's been so rough. Trinidad, 90, 91. Tobago, 88. Again, not a lot of rain for Grenada, St. Vincent, or the Grenadines. Continuing to watch this moisture stay just to the southeast of Trinidad. As I have mentioned in previous videos, we're going to try and eke this closer to the islands here as we roll into the later part of the weekend. Into the ABC Islands, all is quiet there. Again, temperatures have been in the upper 80s to the lower 90s in those areas. They'll pop on right there, and you can see Aruba, Bonaire right around 90 degrees. This is the area in our Southwest Caribbean that I'm going to be talking about much more coming up. And then as we get into Central America, again, it's very area dependent. We've had a few showers and storms develop through portions of southern Nicaragua, portions of Costa Rica and Panama. Honduras has been mainly dry, and we'll talk more about our Pacific potential storm coming up as well. But really, for most of our area here, it's about the hot, dry conditions. Inland Belize, again, above the triple digits. Even Roatan hit 90. Is a spotty shower possible there? Yes. It's going to get very breezy in these areas coming up as well. So let me get back to the broad view here, and then we're going to talk about some of those areas that I wanted to mention. First of all, again, we have an interest area in the Eastern Pacific, really just west of portions of Central America, just south of Mexico. We're now up to a 40% chance of development. Again, this is an area that I've been talking about for the last week or so. A lot of energy developing off a trough. I'm going to show you the models coming up. Now, obviously, this is pushing away from our area, but more than likely, this is going to be the first East Pacific tropical system of the year, okay? And on the heels of that, could we get something a little bit closer to home? Well, again, I'm continuing to monitor this area here in the Southwest Caribbean. Now, in the short term, a lot of the energy is going to be being pushed into the Pacific, but as we get into next week, I'm going to show you the models coming up. We might take some of the development here in the northwest side of the mainland here and try and drift it into the Central Caribbean and see if that might have some potential development. That's the first signs of anything that I've really seen here lately to really talk about in that regard. The first thing I want to mention to what's going to impact our forecast continues to be the Saharan dust layer. That's what you're looking at right now, friends. If you look on the right-hand side of your screen, that is the next plume of Saharan dust that is going to be working its way back over our area as we get into the weekend. If you look at the top right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the days. So again, right now, we still have some haze in the sky, but there's another shot of Saharan dust coming up. You can see. Hopefully I didn't mute myself, but I might have for a brief second. And you can see that dust coming back in, okay? So if nothing else, we're gonna get more haze returning to the Lesser Antilles and portions of the Caribbean over the weekend. Now again, it does fade a bit before it gets into our area, but Saturday, Sunday, that's a pretty good plume moving back through the Lesser Antilles and then moving into Hispaniola. Even Jamaica will more than likely see some haze out of this, and potentially as far northwest as portions of the southern Gulf of Mexico. So yes, the Saharan dust layer continues to be a factor in the forecast. What does it look like model-wise here? Well, as I'm getting that set up, the first thing I want to say is thank you for liking this video. And if you're not a subscriber yet to Meteo Mundo and you've been looking for your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, click that subscribe button right now. Friends, in the short term, take a look at our area. I don't have a lot of green on the map for you here, okay? The air is still relatively dry. That second punch of Saharan dust will be coming in. And again, if you look in the main development region of the Atlantic, through the Atlantic Basin, we don't really see a lot of moisture trying to move into our area here. So we are going to, unfortunately, for many areas, stay relatively dry over the next 3 to 5 days. And I do have the island by island breakdown of your rain chances coming up if you stick around. A couple of areas I want to mention here. First of all, the Windward Islands here. There is an opportunity to start to see a little bit more moisture transport back into places like Trinidad, Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, and St. Lucia. It's going to slowly progress, but I do expect us to get a better chance for some rain coming out of the southeast and lifting into the Windward Islands over the weekend, early next week. The problem is, it's also the same time that Saharan dust comes into play, and that does play a factor in reducing overall rain chances because that's dry air, that's sinking air subsidence, and it almost counteracts the moisture coming in. So we have low level moisture, but can we lift it high enough in the atmosphere to really give us some decent rain? Chances will be going up, but it may not be as good as what we otherwise would have had if we didn't have that next plume of Saharan dust coming in. Over to the Pacific. Here's our next, again, potential storm in the eastern Pacific, and you can see that beginning to wrap up on the right-hand side of that orange area. So that's what I'll be monitoring here in the Pacific over the next 5 days. Generally speaking, it will probably drift west, and we'll see how it plays out from there. But over the next 5 to 7 days, we've got a 40% chance of development. Elsewhere, guys, you don't see a lot of green on the map, do you? There's just not a lot of moisture to see better rain chances. So for Jamaica, Negril, Mandeville, Maypen, Ocho Rios, Portmore, Spanish Town, Old Harbor, got about a 10% chance for showers over the next 3 days. I'm letting this run out 5 days, and you just don't see much on the map. Hispaniola, Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic in general, probably just fine with seeing some drier weather where you're going to get it. Isolated showers in the forecast, that's about it. It's the same thing for our friends in the Turks and the Caicos. Generally speaking, many dry hours, many dry locations. Once again, there's an opportunity for a few showers in Puerto Rico later this afternoon, early evening. We'll start to see the drier weather move in beginning for tomorrow. So again, here you go, 5 o'clock on this Wednesday afternoon. The model has an excellent location of where that rain is. It does fade away relatively quickly by sunset. Isolated showers return to the forecast for tomorrow as well. And then it's very spotty after that, about a 20% chance as we go deeper into the weekend. Same scenario will play out for the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands. My friends in St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, Tortola, Road Town areas. You catch a spotty shower, that's going to about do it for you here. The Leeward Islands, Anguilla, St. Bartholomew, Saba, St. Martin, St. Kitts and Nevis, Barbuda, Antigua, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, 10 to 20% chance for showers Nothing's going to be concentrated for us here. Your air quality is moderate at this point in time. But again, I don't think the Saharan dust layer is ever going to be too thick that far to the north. Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, we're going to get a few isolated showers coming here. You saw the one I mentioned in Martinique. That's about how it's going to play out over the next few days. It's a real spotty shower chance at best. Same thing for my friends in Barbados, Bridgetown, Spacetown. Again, you pop off an isolated shower, consider yourselves lucky. Still no marine issues through this area as well. And as I've mentioned, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, south, we could catch a little bit more in the way of some rain as we move closer to the weekend. I don't expect a lot of rain for my friends in the ABC Islands, an isolated shower drifting from the mainland. But again, right now, all of this energy and all this moisture still wants to pull more west than anything, okay? So when I'm talking about the Southwest Caribbean, I'm not even talking about over the next 5 days. We don't really even see anything developing here. I'm going to show you one of the long-range models coming up in a minute. But again, even for places like Honduras and Nicaragua and Belize, now look, western coastlines, absolutely. And depending on how this plays out, if this wants to stall or drive inland, we might be able to pull some of this moisture back farther east into our area a little bit more. It's something I'll be monitoring. So let's say here, as we get into Sunday, if this is really how this is, we'll see if this continues to move inland, whether this can shove some of that moisture back over Guatemala and Belize and portions of Honduras. Certainly El Salvador getting a little bit of that, even Guatemala City, but I'm talking about our Caribbean coastlines here. Cancun, Cozumel expects to remain dry. Same thing for my friends in the Cayman Islands. Now, it gets a little bit more interesting, obviously, with what's happening right now in the Bahamas. So the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about how the storms that are out there as I speak on this Wednesday afternoon are going to play out. So I'm going to switch over here to that model, our high resolution model. Let me just make sure I get the correct time frame in there as well. There we go. So this is important because we've had a big wildfire issue in portions of the Northwest Bahamas lately. That's how dry we've been. Again, we're still under our short-term drought watch. So we need the rain. Again, the lightning is always a bugaboo, right? Because the lightning can cause additional wildfires. Hopefully the rain is heavy enough where it negates the lightning, but it can be an issue. So again, models very much on with what's happening right now. Let's see how this plays out. As we go through the remainder of this Wednesday, it tries to line up the storms right over Grand Bahama and portions of Abaco. That would be some really solid heavy rain for West End, Freeport, Lucaya, High Rock, the entire island. This would then go far enough southeast to bring Abaco, including the Marsh Harbor area, some good showers and storms. Notice when I zoom out a little bit and then come back into Andros and New Providence, including Nassau and Eleuthera, it's just a lot more spotty in nature. Let me let that run one time, and then let me pause it and bring it back here, because I want to take this step by step. We're going to have an opportunity for some rain, but it's going to be, sorry about that, guys. It's going to be a lot more spotty in nature here. Let me back it up. I'm going to get this right eventually. I'm going to be able to stair step it eventually. So 7 o'clock tonight, 8 o'clock, can we get a shower or two over New Providence and Eleuthera and portions of Andros? It's possible, even a little bit of redevelopment overnight, but it's going to be a lot more spotty in nature. By the way, there could be another round, much more lighter in nature and a bit spottier, trying to redevelop in these areas for your Thursday morning, okay? We may not be done with the rain, and that's great news. We also may not be done with the lightning. Notice that Eleuthera's best chance might actually be tomorrow afternoon. The chance is going to be there the next couple of days. That's great news, because after that, it does dry out again for the next several days after that. But we got to try and get some rain in some of these areas. And if you have had some issues in your area, drop it in the comments section below. I'm very interested. Obviously, my thoughts are going to be with you guys. So let's break down the rain chance here. Now, I did fail to update the Bahamas, and I knew that when I came on, and I apologize. Okay, it's going to be more of about a 30% chance later today and tomorrow for the Northwest Bahamas in general. But for Grand Bahama and Abaco and Walker's Key, it is higher than that. Everything else is correct. Jamaica, again, 10% chance for a shower today, tomorrow, 20% chance on Friday, very limited in the Turks and Caicos, 20% chance over the Dominican Republic. Notice these numbers just aren't high, guys. Cayman Islands, again, a spotty shower comes in, there you go. Belize City, Cancun, Cozumel. Let's go over to Puerto Rico. 30% chance for rain in general. A little bit more concentrated southwest side of the island, but overall 30% chance for rest of today and tomorrow, down to a 20% chance on Friday. We'll see spotty showers in the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands, over Antigua and Barbuda as well. Then you get St. Lucia South is a 10% chance. And then we're trying to bring in just a little bit more rain on Friday as well. Trinidad and Tobago, again, it's a slightly higher chance each day, but beginning over the weekend, starting on Saturday, I hope to be able to improve those rain chances in your area, and then just really, really spotty rain into the ABC Islands over the next 5 days. So let's get into, again, the headline of what I'm watching. The first thing I want to do here is I need to switch our models up real quick. So give me 1 second. And as I do, thank you so much for liking the video as well. I'm going to show you a little area that's going to be trying to develop. And I don't want to do reflectivity. I want to do winds. Here we go. Hopefully it'll pop on here in just a second. I want to show you a little area here just around the ABC Islands as we get into next week. So first of all, we can focus on what's going to be happening here. And you can see that the Hurricane Center has done an absolutely fine job in the Eastern Pacific based on our models of look where this tries to spin up, very small, almost pinhole, maybe brushes the Mexican coastline and then continues to move off towards the west, and we'll see if it holds together. We get a little bit farther out in time. Now, if we go back here and we let this run over the next several days, as we get to the end of the weekend here, there's a lot of wind in the Central Caribbean, but there's not much of anything else than that. As we get into next week, I want you to notice what's going to be trying to lift north. So instead of this energy pushing west, when we look at this wind field, look at this trying to sneak up a little bit farther north. And I know it doesn't look like much right now, but if you see that this area here, right through this region here, there's, again, not a lot of twist to it, but it is an interesting feature. And the reason why is, it's because now the wind fields in the Caribbean are a little bit more disturbed. Instead of that straight easterly trade wind, the winds become light enough again where moisture and energy from the mainland, South America, begins to pull more north. And you notice that it kind of sits right here in the Western Atlantic. It's an interesting enough feature that I wanted to highlight it. And you notice as well, by the way, that the wind field picks up even a little bit more as it moves up to the north. So that's one feature that I'm going to be watching here. A lot of wind energy moving off the mainland and maybe drifting over Hispaniola and Puerto Rico again mid next week. I've mentioned it before as well. Places like Belize and Guatemala and Honduras, like Roatan and Cancun, ton of wind energy in the Northwest Caribbean and the Southwest Gulf. There's no moisture associated with it, so it's not going to be a tropical system, but you're in store for a lot of wind. Guys, things are percolating. Things are bubbling up here as we get to mid to late May. Again, we're going to have more than likely our first East Pacific storm. We got a lot of wind energy in the western sides of the Caribbean, and then this potential system coming up in more of a south to north fashion that I'll be watching very closely. You can watch us across all of social media, my friends, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Send me a picture or a video, any business inquiries. I appreciate that. You always have a question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below. I'm happy to answer it. While you're there, friends, thank you so much for liking the video and subscribing if you like the latest forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. I'll keep you updated. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.